Day 3 of Brown County. Today was a smaller group, just Dad, me, and one other guy. This was good because we'd find the plan needed quite a few alterations along the way. If it was a big group like we had yesterday, there'd be a lot more considerations for how to turn around and who was having fun and so on.
Another good day of riding. Not as good as yesterday. Followed motorcycling across Indiana. Followed Bill's route for Native Sons and Native Stories tour.
At 0900 it was a late start as far as I was concerned, but Dad was ready to go right away this time. To get to the William Murphy Native Sons and Native Stories tour, we headed out the same way we did yesterday, but instead of sticking to US 50, we turned southeast onto Tunnelton Road. This little stretch of road isn't highlighted by the Motorcycling Across Indiana book, but it should be. It's a small back road with some nice turns in and out of forest, farm fields, and a few small towns. The sun was coming up, and it was a great way to start the day. We came into one of these small towns, Fort Rittner, and the term town here seems a bit grandiose. As you can see, there isn't much other than a small collection of residences. Maybe back in the day there was a more thriving community here. Anyway, the road comes this way and you cross under the railroad tracks, then turn and cross a small stream. We've stopped here several times. It's always a nice place to stop for a break and an interesting photo. We spent just a few minutes here and enjoyed the rest of Tunnelton Road. The road was offering a nice meander through the countryside with very little traffic, so we could set our own pace. Well, we did encounter some slow traffic, but quite a bit different than a traffic jam. Getting around that, we are on to our next sightseeing adventure, the Medora Brick Company. Then we went into the little town of Medora to a place we had Googled for breakfast. Unfortunately, it was closed, so had to call our first audible of the day. So we failed, and maybe you can see the sign in the background there. It was supposed to be an epic reveal here. I'm gonna come and tell you that we failed and ended up just getting some kind of food. Oh well, hopefully the day will get better. Next up is Skyline Drive, so let's go check that out. Well, we were supposed to be headed down the road, but the big bad bikers caught some attention from the locals. Finally, we were on the road heading southeast out of Brownstown looking for Skyline Drive. Back in the motel parking lot before we left this morning, we had mentioned our intent to find Skyline Drive near Brownstown, and Brian had added his local knowledge that it had been recently reopened. Even though I had a point in the GPS, we missed it. Did you see it? Well, we didn't. So we found a place to turn around a couple miles down the road, went back looking again. and went back slowly. This time we saw the sign and were treated to a small back road climbing up a mountain. Oh, okay, it wasn't a mountain pass, but for the area, it was a significant elevation change. We stopped at a nice lookout just for a quick view. Then a bit further down, found an even better view. We had just taken a picture break and this was in the full sun and it was getting pretty hot out, so we decided to keep moving. The backside of the park was even steeper and had some switchbacks to deal with, but it was a lot of fun following Dad down the mountain. I don't want to give away the ending of today, but this ended up being the highlight of the day, so I'll just let the video play even if it's at double speed. It was obvious we were headed out of the Skyline Drive area, so we regrouped in the shady spot and turned back around and headed back up those switchbacks. It's hard to understand how steep these are, especially for the surrounding area. It was a bit of a challenge to be in the right gear and be able to accelerate up and around. At one point I was worried I might stall, and it was steep enough I was pretty sure I wouldn't be able to get a foot down and hold the bike up. Thinking of laying the bike down on this grade was a very discomforting thought. Back the way we came, I remembered William Murphy had talked about an old fire tower that was still open to climbing. We'd come through the whole park and I wasn't sure where that was, so I pulled off to the side and I planned to get the book out and check and see if he gave a better description of where exactly this was. And wouldn't you know, right there where we stopped, it was right in front of us. Headed out from that terrible breakfast experience, almost missed Skyline Drive, but then we found it and I remember hearing there was a fire tower, and I want to climb it. See what we can see up there. 108 steps. At the top is pretty well boxed in because some of those steps down there got pretty narrow, a little wobbly. I don't really do heights. I don't know why I wanted to come up here, but here I am. Pretty nice. Good breeze up here. Back down to ground level, we were back on the bikes and headed to the Pigeon Roost Memorial. The roads this way weren't too interesting, but there was some uniqueness to being in southern Indiana. Not quite unique enough to be impressive, so for the first time we were a bit let down by William Murphy. There were still sights to see, so we hoped that good and interesting historical monuments might make up for the less than thrilling road. Into Scottsburg, almost to the Pigeon Roost Memorial, there was a sign saying that the road was closed ahead. So our main sightseeing opportunity for the day was shot. Looking at the route, we could skip the entire south portion and start heading north again, where we knew at least Route 58 was a good one. We found some curves this way, but nothing too special as we knew we were just a few miles to get to Route 58, and we were excited to get to the good stuff. When we got there, however, it was closed too. So we jumped on the interstate, came back to Vernon where we saw a sign for a brew pub and went in to grab some air conditioning and regroup. They had a few beers that looked good. When I asked for a sample, they told me I could spew into this. Okay, you get the Rain's World reference? I hope so. Then the barkeep poured my beer with enough head to drown an elephant. I guess that's still better than being out in that heat. Asking the locals, we found that we could get back to 58 by heading over to Freetown where the road construction had ended. So we did that, and the road twisted and turned and dipped through farmlands and small forests just like we wanted. We were headed back to Bedford a bit earlier than expected because we'd kind of skipped half of the route, so we had some time to kill. Here we went to the Salt Creek Brewery that I had checked out on a previous trip. Here again, my beer was poured poorly by my estimate, but I suppose it was a decent way to end a day that was less than optimal.
Shouldn't complain too much. It wasn't a great day of riding, but still much better than a great day at work. So, yeah, I don't know what I complain about, but again, gonna get out of the riding gear, go hang out. I understand that there's gonna be pizza later tonight, so not as exotic as last night's Indian feast, but something to enjoy. So
That's just what you get with adventure sometimes, and I would look forward to doing it all over again.